Hello, scholars, and welcome back. This is week 5 of POL 450 Research Methods for Political Science. So let's see what we have in store for us in the 5th week of this class. Our theme this week is going to be surveys and sampling. So let's get started. As we open up week 5, we see that we have our agenda. This week we will be tackling chapter 8 out of the text. It'll be followed up with some PowerPoint lectures on sampling and survey research. And then we have, once again, 3 deliverables that are going to be due by Sunday at 11:59, our week 5, day 7, as normal. The 3 deliverables this week is going to be our written assignment number 5, writing survey questions, our application exercise 5, sampling, and our week 5 journal assignment. So as we go into our PowerPoint lectures, you will find that there will be a PowerPoint on sampling and surveys. That's also followed up with 2 videos that I've attached for you on sampling and survey research, which I think will complement the PowerPoint and the reading. By bringing these all 3 together, I think this week you'll really be able to capture these concepts of the sampling and survey research. Remember, for us, we've tackled the big step in this course, and that is creating a research question. But as soon as you create a research question, the next step is, now how am I going to answer that question? That is the next logical step in the process. So once we get that question formulated, now we got to think of, how am I going to get the data necessary to answer my question? Last week we spent quite a bit of time learning about data. Now we're going to figure out a means to get that data. So with our introduction to statistical analysis last week, we understood that now what we could do with data. Now we need to formulate a pathway, a mechanism, would it be, to get this data, and that's what this week is all about. So through our readings, our PowerPoint, and our couple videos here, I think that will be able to navigate you through that topic. And that will set us up for our 3 deliverables this week. So our first written assignment, let's open this up and break it down. Once again, April 7th, 2019, 11:59, 25 points possible. And what I'm asking you to do is write 5 to 8 survey questions related to your research study. At least 3 of these questions should be open-ended and the remaining questions can utilize nominal or ordinal level data. Be sure to specify who your participants are and whether you will be conducting survey research or using interviews or to gather your data. And then there's the grading rubric for this. So that's how I just want you to start by asking 5 to 8 questions, or formulating 5 to 8 questions that you're going to ask, and then bringing in or connecting or linking a couple of our weeks together, the type of data that you're going to use and who are these going to go to participants, or this is going to be survey research. So this should be an exciting week for us. A lot of these questions I would say that you have probably already formulated in your mind, because as you were writing your research question, it had to have crossed your mind, how was I going to get this data? And for many of you, my feedback incorporated this, that there had to be a pathway to answer my question. Now you just need to put that into question form. All right, so now let's look at our application exercise for this week. So for our application exercise this week, once again, same due date, April 7th, 11:59, 30 points possible. Write a brief essay of no less than 400 words that describes how you plan to find participants for your research study. Who do you want to survey or interview, and why? Are you interested in finding out what the experts in the field think, or are you more interested in discovering the thoughts and opinions of the general population? The purpose of this exercise is to help you write the sampling information in your methodology chapter of your proposal. So excellent. So what we see here is we are going to be looking at that sample. We understand that the population isn't the general population. The population is what we're going to apply our study to. So if you were to say the voting results of women in the US, you're not possibly going to be able to ask every female in the US. That would be your entire population for your study. What your sample would be the smaller group that would be representative of the larger population. So we want to know what is going to be your sample size. What is going to be the group that you are going to ask these questions to? Who are going to be your participants? So who is going to be your sample? So you want to be specific on this, because remember, when we start building our prospectus, this is going to be a paragraph, a portion or paragraphs, a portion of that chapter 3. So you want to describe, for my study, I will be looking at individuals from this age to this age that represent this group or this group. How you're going to find them, how you are going to meet them, how you are going to then give them those survey questions. So if it is going to be something as small as a random sampling, where I'm going to randomly meet people in the campus, am I going to set up a booth outside a grocery store? Am I going to use an electronic survey, which I forward it to one individual, that individual then forward it to 5 of their friends? You come up with this, because once again, this is going to be based upon your research question, your research questions, um, your survey questions, excuse me, and then your sample and your population. So exciting. Once again, I would think that these questions or this group should have already been identified in your mind. If not, some of you have even described these in some of your previous writings. Who am I going to ask my questions to, and how am I going to find those people? So write that together. 400 pages, 400 words, no less than 400 words. And once again, take some time and effort to really clarify this, because this is going to be that sampling portion of the prospectus of our methodologies chapter. If we do well on this, it's just going to be cut and paste into our final project. Once again, Sunday, 11:59, 30 points, and the grading rubric. And then finally, we have a reflection exercise in our journals this week. And remember, your journal exercises as if you were talking to me directly. And the question I'm asking you is, please respond to each of the prompts given below. Your response to each of the prompts should be, we want to see some substance to this. We want you to demonstrate your writing skill of a fourth-year college student. And the 2 questions that I want is, what was the most confusing to me in this week's lecture, video, or reading? If nothing was confusing, what was most interesting or surprising? And I'll be followed up by, what insights have I gained as a result of this week's activities? For many, I believe that the sampling and the population is an interesting week, because we see so many surveys, we see so many research studies, we read so many that are giving opinions of their research. And they're basing maybe a very small sample size on the opinions of a much larger population. And we sometimes see this, to give you an example, on exit polls. When we have exit polls that are leaving a polling station during election, and people report on these as if that sample, that very small sample, is going to be representative of a much larger population. And we see that sometimes these are accurate, and then sometimes, especially in our most recent election, that some of the exit polls were not very accurate of what the voters were already. And that's going to be an important thing, or an important concept as we move forward, is your understanding of sample size and how it relates. So when you look at a study and you see that they did surveys of 10 people, and they're making that representative of a very large population, you're going to say to yourself in your mind now that maybe this isn't the strongest study. Maybe the validity of this study isn't that valid just because of the very small sample size. And then on the opposite, sometimes you'll read studies that have a very, very large sample size, that they were able to reach out to a very large group over a very large spectrum of time, over a very diverse geographical just numerous different variables. And then you'll say to yourself, man, this isn't actually a very valid sample size, and these results are very representative of the population. And therefore, when I say that the results suggest something, that I can actually feel that there's a layer of validity to that. And that is one of the goals of this course, is for us to get a better understanding not only of how to build a research study, but also to interpret the research studies that we oftentimes read, whether they're formal academic studies, but more importantly, some of these studies or some of these polls and stats and exits and samples that we see that probably aren't having the characteristics of an academic study that we often see in the media or in other media or avenues, that we can really maybe pick apart the validity. And so I want you to get that understanding of what we're looking for when it comes to valid research. And a lot of that starts with our sample size. So that's this week. So once again, week 5 of this course, we're really chipping away at some big chunks. As you can tell, we're venturing into already the 3rd chapter of our prospectus when we start bringing in things like sample size and population. So we're taking apart some big chunks. We got this. We probably at this point we have a very solid research question. We've incorporated now with that research question. We have a group that we're going to ask it to, and now we have some research questions that we're going to ask them, some survey questions. So you can see all these pieces are all coming together. So I hope you're feeling good with the flow and the direction this is going, because you should be proud of yourself as these pieces start coming together and you're actually formulating an academic study. So I'm really excited to read this, all your work this week, as I can see these pieces come together. Like always, if I have any sort of feedback to kind of navigate you or straighten your path, I'll make sure to get you there. But I also, with all the feedback I'm giving you, I also need to have that same kind of feeling in return, that if you're not giving me any feedback, it's because you're really understanding the concepts and your pieces are all coming together. I'll repeat it again, that I kind of go with the premise that if I'm not hearing anything from you, my assumption is that you are all doing excellent and navigating this course with ease, and because I'm not hearing anything. If we do have any issues, concerns, questions, we need some advice, always feel free to send me an email, get a hold of me, and we'll get those questions answered as soon as possible to get you back on path. But let's all have a successful week 5. I'll be keeping you in my thoughts and my prayers to have a safe, successful week as we once again get closer and closer to putting all these pieces together. So have a great week, and I'll look forward to talking to you very shortly. Bye for now.